Our offense versus their defense. You want me to start?
Well, because I know you got it right here, man. Ben
It's
is
easy.
the answer. Been here, been there, been everywhere.
Yeah, their defense isn't that good. Let's just be real.
No, without a doubt, yeah.
One of the key things that probably, I think I've even heard some people on TV say this, and if you just look at the stats, you watch some of their games, they're letting up a lot of rushing yards. Their run defense is not that good at all, and I think every lead back or main back from all these teams,
They've had success on them. Yeah.
they've been averaging at least 4.5 yards per carry, and some of their games would be even better if it wasn't for the game flow. Like I know the Colts running back, he did pretty decent, but some of these guys haven't had those attempts. The guys that have had the attempts have had big games against Cincinnati. So just in general, I think literally every game throughout the season, running backs and the offense's running game has had success on the Bengals. So the obvious thing there is like, all right, let's start running the ball. The problem is, man, I'm not feeling too hot about our running game after these past 2 weeks.
Yeah, because the Cowboys' run defense hasn't been the best, especially since Dak has been down.
Ravens, you could chalk that up to tough game.
Yeah, tough game. You know, rivalry game. You throw the records out the window, throw the stats out the window. I'm trying to think. When was the last time we saw them consistently run the ball? Would it have been Texans, maybe?
Did we look good against the Titans? I don't remember that.
No, I remember we had to go with the empty hurry up and Big Ben take over in the second half. That's been the case. Yeah, the Titans.
Oh,
We had the offensive explosion in the first half, throwing the ball.
Yeah.
And then, we couldn't do anything in the second half.
Hold on. Can I look up the Titans? But no, just in general, that's kind of what I'm thinking is their defense isn't that good. All right, let's try to get the running game going, but I don't want it to be a same scenario as we've had the past 2 weeks.
Right, you trying so hard to force it, yeah.
So, all right, let's just say maybe our running game isn't going to be as hot as we think going in here. Maybe we got to focus on the passing, which if that's the case, I feel really good about. It's the same thing we've been talking about with a lot of these defenses. It's like pick your poison. I hope our running game can get something going just because the Bengals are that bad. I would feel even more discouraged going forward if we can't get something going.
Yes, indeed.
So let's try it, I guess. But with Ben as the quarterback, the offense, receivers, they don't have any names on defense, and they've also done a poor job in pass coverage and pass defense as well. So I'm not concerned about their defense that much. I'm really not. If anything, it's just more of, all right, is our offensive line going to block good enough for the running game, and are we going to be doing what we're supposed to do on offense? That's really it. It's just where we're our own worst enemy here.
Yeah, very true, man. We definitely are. I will say they do have two guys that we do have to worry about from a protection standpoint, Geno Atkins and Carl Lawson. Those two dudes get after the passer. They create havoc. We've seen it. I mean, even because they didn't play last week, they had the bye, but versus the Titans, man, Lawson has some impact plays from a passing standpoint, forced some turnovers just with the pressure that he was putting on Tannehill. And historically, Lawson has been able to have some success against Al, and there were matchups that they've had and stuff like that. So I do think that those two guys have to be minimized. More so pass-wise, I'm not worried about the runs-wise, but with the run game, if we just try to sit here and line up and just blow them off the ball, I don't know if we're capable of that right now because we haven't really been seeing that consistently. I do think we would have to go back to what we saw earlier in the year with some of the pre-snap window dressing. I think when we get back to doing that, I think that will fix a lot of the inefficiencies in the run game. Right now, we're one-dimensional. We will play gun. I mean, you watch the Bengals on tape, the Bengals look like us offensively. They're in the gun 90% of the time, and they're throwing that ball. They're not running anything. Now, obviously, Joe Mixon's been down. He's missed the past 2 games dealing with the foot injury, so that's been a large part of that. But they're a one-dimensional team. Now, Joe, when they play well, it's because of Joe. When they play bad, it's sometimes because of Joe. So with Big Ben in our offense, because we're one-dimensional right now, it's going to be very dependent on him playing well. Now, we already talked about him not practicing this week. We still think he'll be able to go out there and play well and get the job done. But you just see how much pressure you put on him exclusively when we operate like that. So that's why for me, I would love to see us get back to doing some of the pre-snap shifts and motion that we saw early in the year where we had multiple 100-yard backs for the first 4 or 5 games. And it didn't matter who it was. It was Benny Snell one week. It was James Conner one week. We saw multiple guys have success running the ball.
Maybe we could see if McFarland could
but
be a little X factor.
But
here.
if you line up McFarland and you just say, hey, you guys, offensive line, we're not shifting, we're not motioning, just blow these guys off the ball, it's going to look like how it did last week. That's my biggest thing, man. So I think you'd have to get back to that. But in turn, getting back to that means you slow the tempo down a little bit as well. And we know with Ben, how he's been, more, I guess, pushing that whole up tempo and seeing what he can do from that standpoint. It's pros and cons to both of them.
Yeah, obviously, we talked about it.
Yeah, I feel like we operate better when it's a little bit of a speedier pace. But like I said, it makes you so one-dimensional right now as well. So that's my only fear. But I don't think that they are going to be able to impact us in that standpoint. I just think, like I said, take care of the ball. That's the biggest part. And as long as it's been out there, you feel you have more of a luxury in terms of you can have a turnover or two and you'll be okay. You can have a get stopped on 4th and 1 and it's okay because you have that. If he's not that guy, then now you have bigger issues. So as long as Ben's there,
we're under the assumption that he's going to be playing. So I just checked the Titans, and our running game wasn't too great there. It was James Conner, 20 carries for 82 yards. Yeah. I think you're right. In the first half, it looked pretty good. Yes. Second half, it didn't. And then ever since then, it was the Ravens game and then the Cowboys game. Yeah. So that's just a combination of why we're not feeling as good about our run blocking and our run game just in general.
Yeah. What were the numbers versus the Eagles? Because that was the last one before that bye week, right? The Eagles were the last one before the bye.
I think Connor was good in that game. Am I wrong? Hold on, let me see.
Because I know up until then he had multiple 100-yard rushes.
He had 3, yeah.
Yeah, he had 3 out of, it was like 3 out of 4 or something like that.
All right, hold on. That was, Titans was week 7. Week 6?
No, it would have been
was that 5, the Browns?
Because it was the bye week. Oh, yeah, I forgot the Browns. Were the Browns were after the bye though, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Browns were after the bye.
Our bye was week 4, so week 5 week. Eagles.
What do we look like?
All right, hold on. Here we go. I got it pulled up. We won 38-29. That was for us to go 4-0. I'm just trying to fill the space here.
I was like, all right.
Low battery popped up on my screen. I have to go into low power mode here. All right, here's the stats.
As he has a whole computer sitting at his feet.
Okay. 15 carries, 44 yards, and a touchdown.
Okay.
We had the Ray McLeod sweep for he had 2 carries, 63 yards there. He must have done really good.
Eagles?
That was the Eagles. So he must have done good against the Browns.
Yeah, and then Claypool had the because that was the 4-score game by him. He had the
it was only 3 carries for 6 yards. One of them was a touchdown. Okay. That's all. So he must have done good against the Browns.
Okay.
Yeah, Browns, Texans, and Broncos. Those were his 300-yard games then.
Yeah. We need to become more than one-dimensional. That's my biggest takeaway right now, and I think we can. I just think
I'll double check the Browns real quick.
Yeah, but we got to find a way to get that running game back going. And if you go back to, like I said, in all those games that you're reading off, and even the one where Benny Snell had the 100 yards versus the Giants, in all of those games we saw so much pre-snap movement, and the reason why
I know you've been harping on that.
Yeah, and the reason why it's so important.
Yeah, 101 and a touchdown against the Browns.
Yeah, so if you have the guys that are just physically bigger and better than the guys in terms of the D-line that's in front of you, then you can go with this power scheme, just blow them off the ball, and you're fine. Right now, that's not our makeup. Right now, I look at our offensive line as more of the finesse bunch in terms of elite when it comes to pass protection, right? We've seen them keep 7 clean for a large portion of the season. They're top notch there. But when it comes to them actually having to just line up and blow them off the ball from a run standpoint, they haven't really shown that. And the issue is because there's still a gap scheme running base, meaning like, all right, their job is we're blocking man on man. I'm trying to just blow you off the ball. Whereas when you think of like the zone scheme, you think of Terrell Davis, you think of Shanahan when he was out in with the Broncos and obviously in Washington, right? Where it's more the old line isn't trying to blow you off the ball. They're using their speed and quickness to position block you. And then your back he's looking at different points. He's looking at the end of the line of scrimmage first. Then he's looking at the second defender in the line of scrimmage, and then so on and so on. Whereas with the power scheme, you don't have to read a particular guy. It's more so we're running that ball in the B gap, like it or love it. This is where we're going with it. Our guys are better than you. Right now, we're still trying to run like that, but we're not getting the movement up front to equal that. So without having to completely change your blocking scheme, you go to the shifts and motions because as a defense, it makes you have to be on your heels. It makes you have to look at it and pause for a second. It takes that edge off. And at the NFL level, it's not as if you have great players and absolute trash players. The gap isn't that far. I mean, we said you can have a guy like Travis Fulgham, right? Who isn't all world, but you give him an opportunity and he can create some havoc. If you allow that window to open, he can do some things at the NFL level. That's what it is. So if I know just lining up right now, I can't blow you guys off the ball. But if we go shifts in motion, that makes you hesitate for a second. Now I can get you. Go back to that. I think that's what they've gotten away from. But it's more so because they found that comfort in Ben doing the hurry up and spread offense that it's making them feel like, well, we don't need the running game. It works against some of these teams, but as it gets thick and we get down this thing in terms of when you face these playoff teams obviously in the playoffs or leading up to that, you're going to need to be able to have more elements to your game. So that's why for me, I'm harping on it so much at this point in the season versus just simply saying, well, man, Ben's doing fine, man. Just keep rolling with that. Because you're not going to be able to keep winning games that way.
Yeah, the running game would definitely help. No doubt. Any offense.
In fact, it's going to make his numbers even better if we can get the running game established, man. This segment is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sports booking app. But also, right, because we know sports booking isn't allowed everywhere. We got that, okay. But fantasy football, right? Who doesn't love a little fantasy football? And who doesn't love fantasy football with the opportunity to win up to $1 million worth of prizes every week? Who doesn't love that? With DraftKings Fantasy Football app, you are able to do that. You can participate in the fun, man. You can spice up your Sundays, all right? So, download the app, DraftKings Fantasy Football. Make sure you use the promo code Moats so you can receive up to $1,000 in deposit bonuses. And let's have a little fun, man. Let's get an opportunity to get some paper.